Call of Duty has had its fair share of villains throughout the years, but sadly, these villains are not always the best. Each COD villain can be split between three categories: Nazis, ultra-nationalists, typically from Russia, who hate America because we have Pop-Tarts, and solo villains. These villains are not from the categories we previously talked about, and they usually have some grandiose but radical motive that basically amounts to kill all Americans. But one villain stands above the others. This villain finally breaks the chain of terrible COD villains and is the best COD villain. That villain would be none other than Raul Menendez. Now, there are three main reasons why Menendez is the best COD villain. The first is his motives. Most COD villains' motives are very black and white. I hate America because they're bad and bad. But Menendez's motives make complete sense. There are four main events in Menendez's life that motivated him to attack the United States. The first was what he saw during the Nicaraguan Revolution. Menendez saw firsthand the horrors that the American-backed Contras committed, the various human rights violations, and the destruction that they caused can all be linked back to the United States because they were the ones that funded them. What he saw would start his hatred for the US. The second was the burning of his sister. Most of the Menendez's family had died as a result of an earthquake, so the only people Menendez had left were his sister and his father. This caused Menendez to become very close to both of them. So when Menendez and his sister were hiding in a warehouse, the warehouse was set on fire in order for an American owner to collect insurance money on it. While trying to escape the fire, Menendez's sister was seriously injured and disfigured. This event furthered Menendez's hatred for America, but would also start his hatred of opulence. The third was the assassination of his father. Menendez and his father started a cartel. This cartel would lead them to become very rich and famous among criminals. Eventually, the CIA was ordered to assassinate Menendez's father, and they were successful. All of these events would motivate Menendez to fund communist-led revolutions throughout the world in order to bring down America. The final event that would send Menendez over the edge was the killing of his sister. By this point in time, his sister was the only family he had left, and as evident by the room she is in, he clearly tried to treat her well, and liked to take care of her. By this point in time, the CIA was looking to take Menendez into custody, and they moved in on his estate. Everything was going according to plan, but when they finally got to Menendez, Frank Woods, who had been captured and tortured by Menendez's private army, got consumed by his rage, and in his effort to kill Menendez, he accidentally killed Menendez's sister. This event was the final straw, and Menendez would dedicate the rest of his life to getting revenge against America, Frank Woods, and David Mason. As stated before, most other COD villains have very dry motives that are uninteresting, but Menendez's motives make complete sense. America took everything for him. They killed his family, and he saw the destruction that they brought against his people. His anger towards them makes complete sense, and one can argue that he was justified. His motives tie very well with the next reason why Menendez is the best COD villain, and that would be his actions. Other COD villains attack America because they hate it. Their main goal is to attack America or America's allies indiscriminately so they can cause as much destruction as possible. Menendez, on the other hand, is more calculated with his attack. He does attack America, but he goes after Los Angeles, which according to Menendez is the height of materialism in America. Menendez is kind of right when he says this. California is the fifth richest state, and Los Angeles is the center of television and where a lot of celebrities live. With these two things, it can be described as the height of America's materialism. But Menendez does not just attack America. Menendez takes great stride to also attack China. He first ruins China's economy by hacking into the Chinese stock market, but he makes it seem like America was the one who hacked in. And he also sends drones to attack them while he attacks America. Both of these events cause China to want to go to war against America. His final action was ensuring that a rebellion would happen. The drones used in the attack were America's to begin with, so when he destroys them, it leaves America's military crippled. He then instructs his followers to rise up and rebel, and by making it so that David Mason kills him, Menendez has ensured that he will become a martyr. These two things also ensure that the rebellion will be successful. Overall, Menendez's actions are carefully calculated. In the end, both countries are crippled and must deal with the rebellion, and even though Menendez was killed, he still won. Other COD villains would never attain this level of victory. All they would do is invade America, destroy a bunch of buildings, and then when they are beaten back, they made no progress on destroying America. And when they are killed, their movement dies with them. This leads to the final reason why Menendez is such a good villain. He actually gets you to think. COD villains have never been very philosophical. Hating America for just being there does not count as being philosophical. Others will go into a long speech about why their view is right and why yours is wrong.
This is a certified hood classic.
You're awake. Good. Nice to have the family back together, isn't it?
Bruh.
We're just missing our quiet.
UAV recon standing by. Repeat. UAV recon is standing by.
You know I'm not.
Care package waiting for your mark. Repeat. Care package waiting for your mark.
Let-
Ready to jump in the UAV. Sentry gun ready for deployment. Mark the DZ. Predator missile. Ready for launch. Repeat. Predator missile. Ready for launch. Airstrike standing by. Cobra ready for deployment. Repeat. Cobra ready for deployment. Harriers waiting for your mark. Repeat. Harriers waiting for your mark.
He lets his men.
Emergency airdrop. Show us where you want it. Hive ready for deployment. Repeat. Hive ready for deployment. Airstrike waiting for your mark. Repeat. Airstrike waiting for your mark.
Show some discipline. You are
AC-130 standing by. Repeat. AC-130 standing by. Apache ready for deployment. Ready to go.
Couple of seconds left. Police are on their way. Come on, guys, go. They're coming. Remember the enemy with snipers. I'm flying a rocket out here. Police heli coming in. Snipers in the surrounding buildings. That's the alarm. Time to do some heavy lifting. I'm trying, people. The only one's dead. Hurry up, folks. Maybe a minute until the fail-safe triggers. Remember the enemy with snipers. 7. Keep your focus.
Sniper team is set up on your building. Supply sniper teams, folks. Get over out. Sniper team is moving in.
Now that you've taken a hostage, the police assault is going to take more time. To the second floor. Get to this table. Keep going. They're repossessing the bags. I tell you, the cops are coming in another kick. Getting you moving in.
More snipers are moving in. I see snipers on one now. Plan, people. The old one's dead.
Vans here. Yeah, say again. Escape vans here. That hostage will cost you. That's so good. Get those bags into the loose end. Ready to go.
But these never go anywhere, and only serve to further disconnect you from the villain. Menendez, on the other hand, is very philosophical. He's a villain that can be picked apart and looked at from many different angles to see what he represents. Since America was the one that took much away from him and hurt his people, one could argue that his actions were justified. You could see what happened to his sister as a criticism of greed, or see him and what happened to his country as a result of the Contras as a criticism of America's imperialism. These are surface observations of Menendez and his actions. one could go deeper to really see what Menendez truly is. In the end, Menendez is the best COD villain because his motives make sense and are well explored. His actions completely line up with his motives, and they are calculated and well thought out. And finally, because of his backstory, he is very philosophical and can be picked apart to see what he truly is. And that is why Menendez is the best COD villain.